All right, today we're going to talk about the plan. Yes, I know you're thinking about the Q plan, but something totally different, or maybe the same. Who knows? We're going to talk about Donald Trump's plan and how it's right on target. Stick around. The Gene Ho Show coming up. Welcome everyone to the Gene Ho Show. You're going to love this one. We're going to walk you right through everything and see how everything is falling into play, because kind of strange with all the stuff going on. Everyone's like, oh my goodness, when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? When is that going to happen? But with today's show, you're going to see how everything is falling into place and things are going just as planned with Donald Trump. All right, before we get going, hope you're having a great week. Oh my goodness, last week was very busy, but we got so much done. So much to talk about. By the way, I know we mentioned that in American Pulse podcast, but much going on with George Magazine. Not George Magazine, the George Jr. Magazine, very big because it just got accepted to one of the states. What am I going to say about how am I going to describe it? Department of Education curriculum. Basically part of the approved curricula if you go in to one of these states, and it's just the first of many. So anyway, if you haven't gone to it, go to georgejuniormagazine.com. Very great for your children, even if you don't have children. Maybe your children are all grown up, but you probably have a nephew, niece, all this stuff. Grandchildren, go to georgejunior.com. georgejuniormagazine.com. How about that? All right, let's just get right into the show because there's much to talk about, and it has to do with Donald Trump. Now, here's the thing. For the longest time, way from the beginning, I don't know what we're talking about, since 11 years ago, 12 years ago. Anyway, we've been talking about Donald Trump's plan, and I get it with everything going on. People are constantly like, when is this movie going to end? When is this going to end? When is this going to happen? And a lot of it has to do with expectations, because some in the nihilistic MAGA influenced nation, what they do is they made it so that everything is like so great and wonderful. You'll never have to pay taxes again. The world's going to be great. Everyone's going to be a millionaire. But it seems that all of this has been done this way to keep people off of the game of understanding what's really going on right now. And right now, Donald Trump's plan is falling into place, and I'm going to illustrate that for you so you understand everything that's going on. Okay, what am I talking about? Number one, Donald Trump authentically wants America to be great again. Now, we are getting there, and if everyone could just understand what life was like in the Biden administration, and I talked about it before, we talked about this on the show. When it comes to the Biden administration, it was a real thing. Because if you remember, gas prices were way up. They were actually taking Donald Trump and putting him into court. This was a real thing. I know that some of you guys will be like, what the heck are you talking about, Gene Ho? But what I'm talking about is this was very real when Donald Trump was not in office. I know there's this whole thing, and it's part of the major psyop where people are saying things like, oh, Donald Trump was always president, or at least commander-in-chief between that time. That is not true. That is just not true. It is false. And it's done to make people think, in part, hey, you don't need to do anything because Donald Trump's always been in control. But if you remember, they actually tried to put Donald Trump in prison during this time. He was not in control, and if he was in control, by the way, the world wouldn't be the mess it is now. But Donald Trump is working to get it back all together, and I'm going to show you what the plan was and is all along. And it starts with this video. Roll it!
Remember, because of our Drill Baby Drill program, America has plenty of gas. We have so much gas. Under my leadership, we are #1 producer of oil and gas on the planet, without even discussing the millions of barrels that we're getting from Venezuela. Because of the Trump administration's policies, we produce more oil and gas than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined.
Okay, did you hear that? Very interesting, and it is true. Right now, the United States is the #1 producer of crude oil. By the way, more than Saudi Arabia. By the way, more than Russia combined. And by the way, with all this stuff with Venezuela, we're going to talk about how it all comes into play. Okay, I get it. I totally get it. We as Americans want a wonderful United States of America. We want a prosperous United States of America. Somewhere along the line, okay, somewhere along the line, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but along the line, it came about, and it's probably a psyop where people say, oh my goodness, guess what? It's not only going to be the greatest country, you'll never have to work again. By the way, everyone's going to get $1 billion. I don't care. $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. Everything's going to be perfect, and we're all going to take it away from the Rothschilds. Stuff like that. Everyone here knows exactly what I'm talking about. I'm no stranger to this. People listening in and people understand that there are people out there saying that sort of stuff. That is not the plan, okay? There is not a plan to give everyone $10 million, $20 million. It's just not. And if you knew what I knew about that and the psyop involved in it, you guys have to understand that that is not what's going on. However, there is a plan in place to make America prosperous. By the way, very interesting, it's very similar to what Saudi Arabia does. They have basically a sovereign wealth fund. Now, we are working on building our sovereign wealth fund. Saudi Arabia, which I get it, we want to live like the Saudis, and everyone's rich there, everyone's wealthy there, and all this stuff. However, that comes from oil. And what is the United States doing? We also want to be the #1 producer, so we'll be flush with oil. The difference is, not only do we have the oil, we have the American dollar. The United States dollar that is backed by the full faith and majesty of the United States of America, everything. So these two things combined would make for a very prosperous United States of America. However, there's a big psyop out there saying that, oh, we don't need the dollar. And they don't even know the plan. They think, seriously, they think the plan is all of a sudden someone's going to drop $1 million, $2 million, $3 million into everyone's hand. That is not happening. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it's time now for everyone to actually know the truth, because when we said this a while back ago, what happened? We got attacked in every way possible. But there is a plan in place by Donald Trump, and we all hope it works, to make everyone prosperous. And how in the world do we know this? Start us with this. Greg, roll it! All right, you're ready to get more spooky dooky, and you're going to love this one because it has to do with timestamps. You know you love it. Okay, the new issue of George Magazine out right now. We told you 2 months ago that it was big because the theme of the issue was So It Begins. And you remember this video here.
Folks, the theme for issue 39 is So It Begins.
Now, the thing is, the issue is out now, and the way we designed the cover is so that it's dominoes that match with our calendar. You see all the dominoes going there until it gets to a new day. But here's the thing. What did this new year start with? Of course, you know about Maduro. Here's the interesting thing. Did you know that the New York Times and WAPO had advanced knowledge, but they didn't get the article out about their raid until later on? Who scooped them? Who knew? It was the Vatican. The Vatican put it out before them at their time, 1156. Very interesting, because others followed suit 1156. Now, what's interesting about it is if you go to our cover, So It Begins, what's the first domino? You see the clock there, 1156. Okay, so that's First of all, how in the world do you think this happened? But my point is, I get it. I certainly do get it. And there's truths partially with a lot of things. But America needs to be greater again, and it's getting there. It really is. You can see it falling into place. However, this whole movement has been hijacked by people saying, well, when is it going to end? When is this going to happen? When am I going to get my pot of money with this? America will be prosperous, but the whole thing all along is not that we all get free money. What we wanted in society is to have a fair shot to be a winner or a loser, depending on how hard we work. However, with a lot of things, depending on how we work, there's so many things against us. But Donald Trump has a specific plan in place, all right? When it comes to that, I don't know where it came from, right? But somewhere along the line, it seemed like everyone, every single person was going to do nothing and suddenly become rich as anything. Just be totally rich because everyone's going to get $2 million in the mail, like in a check, right? That's not going to happen. But there is things in play. And now I can speak more freely about it because I'm telling you, when you are the bearer of bad news, that suddenly someone's not going to come with a ton of gold and drop it off in your front doorstep. When you say that and everyone puts their hope in that, they attack you. But everything is going to plan. And think about how even we understood how this plan is falling into place. It has to do with oil, and that is primarily just part of the prosperity that is coming to America. And that is what Donald Trump is trying to work on. All right, stick around. When we come back, I'm going to show you how it started with in this year, like the first domino with Venezuela, and is going down to the time now. So stick around. The Gene Ho Show coming back. America turns 250 years old, and George Magazine is marking the moment with a publication worthy of the milestone. Inside this limited edition, we reveal the true Trump story told through photographs that document his rise from the very beginning. These are the photos that shape the narrative. Trump's road to the presidency cannot be told fully without them. Many of the images never seen by the public. Some will eventually be donated to the Trump Presidential Library, but you can see them now. Hardcover, museum grade, built to last, a collector's piece designed for America's 250th birthday. Never seen before Trump photographs from Trump's early journey, stunning images of America the Beautiful. Quotes from American presidents, all new pages of hints of what's coming next. Only 1776 copies available, each one signed by me. Once they're gone, they're gone. So get yours today at georgemagazine.com. Welcome back, everyone, to the Gene Ho Show. And thank you so much for sticking with us, by the way, through all of this. It's been a very rough 3-4 years for us. Actually, maybe about 3 years. It's been very tough because what we're trying to do with, come on, hello, George, it has to do with giving good information, credible information to people. And we've been trying to do this for the longest time, but we have been battling enemies that don't want the truth out. What they want coming out is, quite frankly, propaganda. Propaganda from Russia and propaganda from Iran. That is what has infiltrated America. So what they want to do is tell people, listen, your system sucks. Your dollar sucks. Everything's bad. Your Congress is bad. Everything's bad. And I know that there are problems in the United States of America. And quite frankly, same with Donald Trump. But this whole thing that America is going into disaster and we need to be saved by this amazing thing where everyone suddenly becomes rich, no matter how hard or little you work, that's not the American way. The American way for what we're doing is that we want to work hard and to have government leave us alone, that if we do well, work hard, be creative in it, that we succeed. And if we don't, and we sit on our asses at home and don't do anything, then we will fail. That is really what we want in America. And that is what we hope to get. And it's already in play. What we want is basically America that is stable and well. And one of the ways we do that, and come on, right now, if I would ask you, okay, who would we want to be more like? Quite frankly, Saudi Arabia, some of these countries in the Middle East, all right? Yes, they have their problems there, but come on. Wouldn't you want to be flush with oil? But the thing is, we are, and Donald Trump knows that. And what Donald Trump is doing, and Dave Blaze brought it out many times before in our other show, changing it, changing the guard. You heard that, right? From the Post, changing the old guard to the United States. And the thing is, somewhere along the line, I don't know where it all came from. It's like the enemies of America are all these other boogeymen, except for what it really is. A lot of it has to do with propaganda. So what's going on in this? And if you at the very least with that video that I first showed, 1156, and the dominoes falling, that was the first domino to fall in the year. And it had to do with oil. When all of this, no one knew anything, we were saying what was the purpose of Venezuela. So anyway, check it out when they started, I don't know, what was it? A year ago, probably even. I think it was a year ago, with all of this, and Trump started to blockade Venezuela. We, Dave Blaze, George Magazine, myself, knew exactly what was going on because we've been saying it for about 2 years. But now it's more understandable. But this, look at the confusion, was going on 1 year ago. Greg, roll it!
Just breaking right now across the wires, President Trump is ordering a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers going into and out of Venezuela, saying that the armada around Venezuela will only get bigger, and that the Venezuelan regime has been designated a foreign terrorist organization, crossing on all the wires coming from the Trump administration and the president himself, a blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers into Venezuela.
Okay, you guys remember from a long time ago, there was this movie called Mad Max, okay? You remember it. And the whole struggle in post-apocalyptic America or whatever it is, and I'm not saying that it's connected with anything, but it was about energy. Basically, hey, life is great and wonderful, but if you can't go to the grocery store or you can't fly the plane or the helicopter or whatever, it had to do with oil. It has to do with energy, all right? Along the way, there's other forms of energy that we've talked about. There's solar energy, right? There's the wind energy and all that stuff. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what is it that you need, like on a regular basis, like a weekly basis? You need to fill your house with energy. You need to fill your house or your car with gasoline. Oil is very important to America, all right? That is one of the things that is necessary for a nation to run. And countries that can produce it, quite frankly, like Saudi Arabia, that's a good thing for them. They become wealthy with it. Obviously, Trump knows it. And again, who knew? Who knew that the United States of America is flushed with oil? About 3 years ago, George Magazine, maybe 2 years ago, realistically, I know some people might spot check me. George Magazine did a cover story called Drill Baby Drill. This was so important because that was the plan to bring our nation back to dominance and to make America great again. So it started with Venezuela. It also started with Trump saying, we're going to drill in Alaska, right? Basically, it's plenty of oil there. United States of America is the #1 producer of crude oil. And with Venezuela, there is oil coming from that gets traded out, or however you want to say it, bought out by other countries. And this is done through the dark fleet. And I know that sounds spooky, but anyway, you remember this video here. Greg, roll it!
Across the globe, billions of dollars of black market oil moves through a network of aging tankers known as the Dark Fleet. From high-tech signal spoofing to old-school disguise, these vessels employ shadowy tactics to bypass international law. But a new U.S. crackdown on Venezuelan oil is finally moving to strangle this illicit trade.
The dark fleet model, for now, with Venezuela has been broken.
The so-called Dark Fleet is a network of some 1,400 ships that transfer Venezuelan, Russian, and Iranian oil in violation of U.S. and other international sanctions.
Okay, remember, and I'm not saying this by connected, I'm just saying you guys watched Mad Max, right? Where basically oil, energy, gasoline, however you want to say it, is so important, and it is. In America, we need that. Our military uses oil or gasoline or however, jet fuel. We need it to get to work, to move, to go to the grocery store. That is one of the things that functions in the world. Everyone knows that, or at least world leaders do. So whoever controls the oil controls a lot. You've seen it with the Strait of Hormuz, because if they can control the flow of oil, they can control a lot of things. Even though they don't have a navy anymore, they don't have an air force anymore, they can still control a lot. This is Iran because of the control of oil. That is big. So that is key to a lot of things. However, you saw that video there. What in the world does it have to do with world sanctions? Because along with oil, there is another thing that you need to control. So one thing you need to control is the oil. The second thing you need to control, who knew, is world economics. And the United States can do that and will do that and has been doing that with Donald Trump, with the United States, and yes, the Federal Reserve dollar, the one that everyone told you is so evil and so bad. Donald Trump uses that because the Federal Reserve gives us a dollar that we can use that other countries want. Somewhere along the line, and I know every single one of you believed it, or most of you did, because I know I believed it. That is the psyop, that the American dollar and the Federal Reserve is bad, that it's evil. But in truth, ask Donald Trump. Really, ask Donald Trump, because the whole battle for all of the world, besides the oil, and when I say the oil, like everyone's like, oh, no more wars for oil. The United States now has control of the oil. Oh, all of it. We blockaded the Strait of Hormuz. But the second part of that is the economics of it. So when Donald Trump, who knows this, and that's what the rest of MAGA or some of MAGA don't know because of the propaganda. United States can tell a country, listen, you will do A, B, and C, or you don't have access to our banking. That is huge. That is tremendously huge. But it has to do with the United States Federal Reserve dollar. It's not backed by nothing. It's not backed by invisible, whatever. It's backed by the good faith of the United States of America and our strength and our power. Anyway, stick around. After this, the Gene Ho Show, me, will tell you all about this. Stick around, the Gene Ho Show, coming back. Hey friends, I want to tell you about Azure Standard, because if you're like me, you want your food clean, healthy, no GMO, stuff like that. Now, for me, it's pretty easy because I have my own homestead, have our own eggs, chicken, all that stuff. But there's still some things I can't get almost anywhere, so I use Azure Standard. I've been using them for about a year now. It's very simple. Just go to httpsgeorgemagazine.com, scroll through it, buy what you want. The way we get it shipped to us is we use a drop point. Very simple. Once a month, we pick it up at this drop point, and the best part about it, we meet a lot of people like-minded, like me and you, who care about our food, making sure it's healthy, and we meet a lot of friends that way. So check them out, httpsgeorgemagazine.com. Welcome back, everyone, to the Gene Ho Show, and thanks for sticking with me. And thank you. We really, here at George Magazine, Dave Blaze and I, and the others, we feel that we finally have the freedom of speech to say these things, because when we're talking about them before, number one, people are like, well, what are you talking about? And number two, when we talked about it before, we had that whole network of people telling that what we're saying is wrong and that we're the evil ones. We're the ones that are bad. But the thing is, when it comes to that, and I can prove it to you right now, if you were cut off from two things in your family, this is you personally, not the whole world. If you were cut off from energy, right? That is, your house can't be warmed or cooled, or you can't have gasoline to go to work, that would shut you down. But add to that, could you imagine if you no longer had access to banking? Seriously, think about it. You work someplace and they say, where should we send the check to? Well, you could just give me a check, and you had nowhere to cash that check. It's just a piece of paper. And then you say, oh, well, okay, you can't have a check. How about this? How about we'll wire some money to you, or we'll give you a direct deposit? Oh, okay. Well, I don't have any banking. I don't have that. Could you give me, can I have my pay in gold coins? Just think about that. Even if you had gold coins, how are you going to spend it without banking? When you get that gold coin, and I know it, the 1 ounce coin is $4,000 something. Let's say you worked, right? And then you get the work and you get a quarter of that gold coin. What are you going to do with it? Like, how are you going to spend it? The world runs on energy and economics, banking. United States is controlling both of them right now. Both of them. So understand what's going on with this. The oil is a change. Going from the Middle East to now everyone buying oil from us, because we have more oil than Russia and Saudi Arabia combined. Think about that. So we have that. And the other thing we always had is the banking. The dollar is so important. And that is why Donald Trump could say, it's like that, no soup for you. That's why Donald Trump can say, listen, if you don't do A, B, and C, you no longer have access to our banking system with the United States dollar. Anyone telling you that the dollar is evil and that they want it to crash, think about, and they are good people saying that. Think about where that's coming from. Imagine if we didn't have that. Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. The whole world goes by only gold-backed dollars. So the country that has the most gold has the most money. Really think about it. I get it. The United States has a lot of gold. But same with some of these other countries. Other countries have a lot of gold. The difference is it's not gold. The difference is the faith of the government of the United States. Where we are now with our military might, our gold, our silver, our way of doing things, it lends weight to the United States dollar, and right now we have it. And that is why when Donald Trump threatens a country with sanctions, and every one of us is saying, oh, sanctions, big deal. Sanction all you want. Seriously, try running your house if you don't have oil, gasoline, if you don't have access to banking, the evil banking, how far will you go? Seriously, think about that. Any job you do, how do you get paid? Well, I'll give you a check. Well, I don't use the banks because I hate the banks because the banks are evil. How are you going to get money without that? It's all tied in with the United States system of things. And that's why Donald Trump or the United States Treasury, as Treasury Secretary Benson, has done, he could threaten people. If you're off our banking, basically you're screwed. Think about you. Think about you. If you didn't have a bank account, whatever it is, Harvest, Bank of America, whatever, if you don't have a bank account, like if you were put on, if there was a list that you can't get a bank account, think about that. How successful could you possibly be? And I know it sounds crazy here because it's like I'm explaining what the propaganda has been. But the United States, through Donald Trump, has been doing very, very well and is going according to plan. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening in and following us. Appreciate it. You're watching The Gene Ho Show, and we will see you next week. Thanks for checking us out. Don't forget to go to georgemagazine.com and sign up for the dispatch. It's free. Get the emails and the news stories. And check us out Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You can check us out on Facebook and YouTube. We'll see you then.